Scrappy friends, it is Jess here from the Scrappy Sisters, and I'm totally giving you vertigo here over this crazy patterned paper from Paige Evans. So on the 26th of January, the Kitaholic Kits people ran a online crop, and one of the challenges over there was to use a difficult piece of paper. It could be anything. It could be too bright for you, could be a crazy pattern for you, might be more like a story-based page, it might be a real-life sort of photo picture. And the idea was that you were to challenge yourself by trying to use it. Now for me, a page like this that's super brightly coloured, lots of almost like ephemera pieces on it, I find super difficult to use. But my go-to way of using them, because I do love the rainbow colours, is to cut it apart. I want to try and get more white space happening on such a bright page. So what I've done with this particular page is I cut out each individual ticket. I arranged them into an order that I liked. So that was I changed the order a little bit from the page into a rainbow order, and I also distressed every single edge of that. Now the reason I distressed it is, again, it is adding some more white space to the page, because roughing up the edges makes that paper turn a little bit white as well, and it also makes the 12 by 12 white backing paper shine through just a little bit more. And I really think by doing that, I've made that piece of paper far more user-friendly for myself. Another thing you could do is add a really light coating of gesso on top of where your photos are going to go, again as a way of making, toning down a little bit of that crazy pattern and that crazy paper. And I think once I've done that, I don't need too much more happening on the page. I've also chosen to use 3 photographs, which is quite a lot on such a busy pattern paper. And it complements the craziness of what's going on with the paper as well. And so by doing that, I've really needed to go super light on the ephemera. I put on 3 or 4 teeny little slithers of flowers, those 2 beautiful birds, and I'm practically done. I then chose my thickers based on a colour choice, and I really wanted navy ones, and I was being super lazy and didn't want to paint them myself. So I pulled out literally the only navy thickers I own, and I am very limited on letters left. I looked, and the closest I could come up with is this word blossom. And that was using the number 7 cut down to be an L. I sent it to my sister and she's like, man, I've got nothing. Those thickers are dead. But I decided I was going to roll with blossom, and then I pulled out the Paige Evans teeny tiny navies and just added like a flower. And I think that worked really well for these photos, because I'm looking smashing, if I do say so myself, with professional hair and makeup, ready to be a maid of honor for my best friend's wedding. So I have blossomed like a flower into this beautiful thing that you see here in the photos that only ever happened once in my life. Oh no, twice at my own wedding too, duh. Kidding. So I actually end up being so thrilled with this layout. It is even better than I anticipated it was going to be. Taking this piece of paper that I did not anticipate being able to use ever and turning it into this has been incredible. Now, I would not have done that without the challenge forcing me into it, but I am so glad. It absolutely took a little bit of time trimming down each of those tickets and distressing each of those edges, but it really has added to the page. And it has definitely toned down the brightness of this paper. By being able to add a bit more white space, it has definitely toned it down a little bit. So that's my number 1 tip when I'm dealing with a crazy pattern or a really bright pattern paper. If I can, I cut it down in some way. I might even cut it into squares and still reposition them back on the paper again. But again, it's just being able to get some white space to show through in between each of those squares. You've already changed the whole feel of that piece of paper, and you can tone it down a little bit. So I hope I have inspired you to pull out something that was difficult for you to use, maybe even this same piece of paper, and have a little bit of a play. I love the way it has turned out and the way it looks, and I hope that hopefully you guys can tag me in something that you do that also comes together like this. I just finished it off by pulling out some puffies and putting some tone-on-tone stickers in there as well, just for fun, because who doesn't love a little bit more colour? And I call this one done. So some navy little splatters with my Hardy Swap Colour Shine, and I'm going to take you into the close-up photograph so you can really see how beautiful this turned out, and you can really see that texture in there as well. I am so super thrilled with this one, and I hope, as I said before, that I can inspire you to pull out a piece of paper that you might not use quite so readily normally. I know I mentioned this before. I know for me, this one definitely would have sat in my stash, and I probably would have ended up just using it for like matting photos or something like that. So I'm super proud that I was able to actually pull a full layout out of it and only had a few leftover tickets that I put in with the ephemera to use later. So thank you so much for watching. Have a happy scrappy week, and I'll see you next time.